Hello, hello, hello. This is Danny Ceballos with Unleashed Consulting and the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. Welcome, everybody. Super excited to have my guest this week, Elizabeth Bessey. Elizabeth is like me. She is a executive and leadership coach. Of course, she does a lot more than that, and that's why we brought her here on the podcast. She's going to be sharing with you some interesting ways of thinking about capturing and understanding your energy as a leader. So before I get started, I just want to say welcome, Elizabeth. So good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, folks, let me tell you a little bit about Elizabeth, and then we'll have some great conversation around all the great ways of looking at leadership through the Elizabeth Bessey lens. All right. So, Elizabeth Bessey is a certified human resources professional and a graduate of the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. She is an iPEC coach. And if you don't know what that means, just trust me, it's a super high standard for professionalism in coaching. She received her coaching certification and was certified as an Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner. Can't wait to hear some more about that. She spent 3 decades in HR and has worked in many different industries. She's worked in technology, in trucking and warehousing, insurance, construction, manufacturing, behavioral health, and primary health care before she decided to run her own coaching business. Her coaching practice focuses on identifying levels of energy and leadership and how they correlate to practices and behaviors that make each leader successful and those that are not working out well for them. So welcome, Elizabeth. I'm wondering if you could just start off, tell us anything else that you want to tell us about yourself and your work, but also what's your philosophy for doing this work that you do?
Yeah, Danny, with working, like I said, 3 decades in human resources, I saw a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one of the things that I wanted to do in my practice was to assist leaders, work with the balls of clay. I mean, C-suite people are great. The executive coach levels or leaders are great. However, I really enjoy working with those folks that they're great at what they did. They get promoted from within. Now they're a manager or a director, and they're like, now what do I do? Those are
That's
my
it.
favorite people to work with. And, there's a lot of disengagement. And so if I can help anyone who's listening to this podcast to help themselves be engaged or to help them engage their team, I will consider it a successful day because we spend a lot of our lives at our jobs. And if we're not enjoying it, or, you're spending that 80% of your time with 20% of your problem children,
Yes,
um, it's not a fun day. Charm
indeed.
school is not always a great thing to get stuck with. So, yeah.
Yes,
Um, so
that's
that's
great.
that's kind of my philosophy. I am a positive, optimistic person, and I love for that to rub off on others that I work with.
Right on. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's as much about mindset and kind of reframing things as it is about
Absolutely.
what are tools and strategies that I can use as a. And by the way, we call at Unleashed Consulting, we call our managers core managers. And we
Yeah.
do that because, to your point, right? The C suite, it's all fine. That's kind of the head of the organization, the brain, but the core, like the core of our body, where the real work needs to happen. And without strengthening that, the whole thing would fall apart. That's what our managers are, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you 100%. If folks are more engaged, competent, confident, everybody wins. The whole organization wins. It's not just the
Yeah.
individual. So I'm with you
Yeah.
on that 100%. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about what are the levels of energy in leadership that you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Well, when I first start working with someone, with most coaching, there's an assessment that they work with, and and again, the 7 levels of energy leadership. One being the most catabolic level, 7 being the highest level. There's only one person I know of that walked on water. So we kind of range throughout our day, every day, at multiple different levels. So the biggest thing is that the client gets an awareness of where they are right now. So through the Energy Leadership Index assessment, which I'm a master practitioner of, they take that very simple online 70 question, 10 questions in each of the 7 levels.
Okay.
So when we
Okay.
do the debrief and they have an understanding, it's like holding that mirror up for the first time. Holding
Mm-hmm.
that mirror up, and there's like, oh, this is a self-assessment. So I answered these questions. Nobody else had input on this, and this is what the results were. So, so basically, again, it's just a, process that helps to develop a personally effective style of leadership for the
Mm-hmm.
individual,
Mm-hmm.
especially if
Mm-hmm.
they're a newer leader, right? And so this can positively influence some changes that they'd like to make. If they find out, like I said, lowest level is number one. If they find that they're kind of resonating at a level 3, which is right on the cusp of, being more in the positive range. But if they want to be in a level 5, then that's what we talk about. They get tools and they get some exercises, and they talk about situations, and it becomes more aware to them. This isn't the level I want to be at right now. I may be getting some really bad news and it's bringing me to a level 2 or 3, but that's not where I want to be. So then, like you say, it helps them to understand and reframe, and it's such a practical experience for
Mm-hmm.
them. They use it not only in their personal and their professional lives, but there's this huge rippling effect where they're like, Elizabeth, you would not believe I used the energy leadership levels with my kids, and I was about ready to have an argument with my significant other, and they're like, "Oh, it's amazing." I just kind of like paused and sat back, and I'm like, "I'm not going to get sucked into this screaming match. This
Yeah.
is what I'm going to do." So, they learn it in the professional world, but they also use it in their personal world because it becomes a part of them.
That makes
And
so much sense. Yeah.
oh, it's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And that's what truly lights me up, working with folks and having them come to me and say, I use it and it really works. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool. So
So
that's
what?
kind of the levels. Yeah. And what the one of the first tools I use is the assessment.
Okay.
And then we kind of go from there.
Okay. So what can listeners take from this right now that they can use from it right now? So they may not be
Yep.
able to do the full assessment. So can you describe the energy levels a little bit so
Yeah.
folks can
Yeah.
say,
Again,
this is
you
where I'm
know,
at?
Yep, yep. The levels themselves are literally level 1 through level 7. So if you can think about a round diagram, right, and you have different levels. So not only are you understanding where your emotions are, but you're also understanding the thought process, and then you're also understanding the results. And it's
Mhm.
usually the results that the client is looking at, right? They don't
Mhm.
always see the challenges. They do develop that through time. They start understanding what is a trigger. If I'm having a hard day getting the kids off to school and I come in, I'm already upset. If someone brings me more bad news, do I skyrocket, or do I simply say, okay, let's put on some calming music on the way to work? If I had trouble getting the kids up, especially now, it's time, school's coming back into session, right? And
Right.
so having an understanding of where you are, and one of the biggest things is teaching them they have to put their oxygen mask on first.
Mhm. Mhm.
Having that understanding of, okay, so this is not working for me now with through coaching. And I don't care what mindset you're working with coaching, you always have that understanding of where you are, and then developing your
Right.
goals and planning to reach those goals, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a lot of negativity and it's not working for you, then you need to take that pause. You need to put that oxygen mask on first, to help your children, to help your team, to help your significant other, whatever the situation might be.
So how can that all makes 100%. So it's about understanding where you are energetically,
Yes.
objectifying that, knowing that it's at a certain level, and knowing how, there's a gap from where I am, from where I want to be, and how am I going
Yeah.
to close that gap? But can you help us understand a little less theoretically and more like, so what is level 1? What is level 2? What is level 3? I would love it
Yeah.
if listeners could
Yeah.
assess themselves right now to know.
Yeah.
Is that
So
possible? Okay.
sure. So I mean, I'll kind of group them together.
Yeah.
So your lowest levels are level 1 and 2.
Okay.
So a core thought could be you're a victim or there's some type of conflict. So they're driving into work, right? And so again, you have your core thought, you have your feeling. So victim, conflict, right? And then your feeling is apathy and anger, right? And then the action could be, defiance, lethargy, right? So here's a good example. You're driving to work and your exit's coming up. You get into the right lane. In the US, it's on the right lane, right? And you're ready to exit. And then all of a sudden, this car comes out of nowhere,
Hmm.
passes you on the left, zooms into the exit, cuts you off, and you are livid. You're like,
Yeah.
honk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your heart's racing. You're like, oh my gosh, this person almost, caused an accident, almost wiped me out, ruined my day, wrecked my car, right? And then you happen to look up out of the corner of your eye and you see the big H. It's an exit for a hospital.
Hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow. So to reframe a situation like that,
Hmm.
it's like, is there a possibility that someone was in a life-threatening situation and they were just driving like a bat out of you know what
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and took a risk and cut in front of me to get to that exit? Is it possible that they needed to have that space and do that?
Uh-huh.
So if you're able to any of those situations where you're at that 1 or 2 level and you're angry and your heart is racing and you're very upset, that's an opportunity for you to reframe it, flip it, and say, you know what? I'm still here. There was no accident. It was a close call.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
there may be a reason why that person did that because it's so out of the norm for someone to come
Right.
driving around and nearly clip you to get to the exit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in any of those situations where a listener could think, oh my gosh, I've had so many of those situations where, my heart is racing, but do I take the time to think about what's the perspective of the other person?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
do I go into work and just blow up to everyone who'll listen and talk about how this person almost cut me off? And then you're still thinking about it when you're midday at your coffee break or ready for lunch. And you're like, geez, if I get into the car, is there going to be somebody else that's going to come out of nowhere and try to cut me off? Are you going to perpetuate that and
Yeah.
hold that negative energy? Or are you going to release that and allow yourself to get to another level?
I think you just nailed, I think, the kind of the secret sauce, right? So
Yeah.
it's about
Yeah.
making a choice about because maybe there isn't an H, maybe there's no H, but there's still something about, can I
Yeah.
get outside of myself for a moment
Yes.
and assume that that person has a reason, right?
Yeah.
And go with that, not even needing to know, but just start with that
Yeah.
assumption so that I
Yeah.
can release that so that I can move to another energy level.
Exactly.
That sounds very reasonable to
Exactly.
me.
Yeah.
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 And does it
And,
keep going? So is it
yes.
like,
So, the level 1 and 2 normally is about self, right? How it affects me, how the conflict affects me, the anger affects me. And then outside of that, the levels 3 through 5 is more of what we call self mastery. Mastering those emotions for yourself to get to that next level, to get out of the anger, to get out of the victim mode, right? And in those levels, the core thought is responsibility, concern, right?
so you get out
Uh,
of yourself, right? It's not so
reconciliate.
self-directed. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And then the core feeling normally is forgiveness, compassion, peace.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the person, you're so angry at the person that cut you off, And now you start, when you get to those other levels of the thought process, you're like, you know what? Even if they weren't on the way to the hospital, thank goodness we didn't have an accident and we were both end up in a
Yeah.
hospital. Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and then the core result is service, cooperation, right? Acceptance. So for the listener that's trying to relate to this and bringing it into their work world, if you have someone who's not doing well, they've had a poor performance evaluation, they're not working up to what the expectation is, and you sat down with them and you've communicated to them, this is what's expected.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help you get there? What are going to be the steps that we're going to take to help you? Do you need more training in a particular area? Whatever the case may be. When you sit down and you have a discussion with them at those levels, those are your levels 3 to 5. How can I help you? How can I, as your manager, help you succeed? What other tools do you need? Because I want you to succeed. I want everybody on my team to succeed. So what's a step? You help me. Give me a step that might help you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
conversations don't have to be challenging. And, I work with 8 different building blocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emotional intelligence, problem solving, health, wellness, dynamic communication, productivity, decision making, time management, balance, influencing others, engaging others, high energy relationships. Because if you're a manager, and it is true, 80% of the time you're working with 20% of the people in your team that need help, right? So, when you're using those building blocks and learning as a manager, what tool am I going to use? What am I
Mm-hmm.
going to draw from in this particular instance?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but engaging and taking that pause and having that awareness of where you are, what tool
Mm-hmm.
you're going to use to get yourself and maybe, someone that's on your team to a more positive level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
makes the
love that.
day so much
Yeah.
nicer.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, right. That's a benefit of this is slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
I operate through the positive intelligence rubric. Are you familiar with
Yeah.
that? The
Yes.
seven scores
PQ.
and the same. Yeah, you too. Right. So it's in some ways it's the same thing, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
right. It's about understanding what is possible and
Yeah.
then catching yourself where you are right now so that you can get to what's possible. When we just kind of spin and spin and
Yeah.
spin in the same place, we're not able to see what's possible. So we don't want to go to what's possible because we're so engaged in our,
Right.
I guess, levels 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can just get into
Yes,
a
exactly.
downward spiral.
Yes.
Why
Yeah.
me? Why did I end up? Why do I always end up with these people on my team?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So my God, then what is level 6 and 7? It must be like,
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's only one person I know of that walked on water. So in the level 6 and 7, there, and your core thought is the synthesis and non-judgment. Non-judgment is huge. That's your level 7, and I think we can all resonate with non-judgment, right? In many, many different ways. And then, so the feeling, the core feeling and emotion is going to be joy and absolute passion, right? And then your action is going to be wisdom and creation. So I think you see what I'm talking about with non-judgment, absolute passion, and creation on my person that walked on water.
yeah.
So we can absolutely have moments of creation and
Yeah.
wisdom,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
We can
thinking it's not
absolutely have
just,
joy, and we can
yeah.
absolutely have non-judgment. And
Yeah.
as a manager, as a director, anytime a person says, "Elizabeth, can I get 5 minutes of your time?" Absolutely. Come on in, shut the door, right? The minute that they walk into your office, you need to put your non-judgment hat on. I don't care what level of leadership you are. You have to, you wipe that slate clean. You start over no matter what the issue is that they're bringing to you. It's like a non-judgment zone. So engage with them, listen to them,
Be
right?
curious.
Be curious. And if there's one thing that I say over and over to leaders when they say, Elizabeth, how do I do this? You have to understand that no matter what room you're walking into or no matter what room you're in, you are not the smartest person in the room.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm,
So understanding that, you can leverage your learnings
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and be
mm-hmm,
curious. Be
mm-hmm,
have that coach curiosity. As a matter of
mm-hmm,
fact, I work a lot with my folks with be a coach to your team.
mm-hmm.
Be curious, ask the questions. They have the answers. They just need some affirmation to help them.
Yes, right.
They need
Yeah.
that support. They need to say, yes, that is an excellent solution to this.
Mm-hmm,
Let them come up with a solution. Because if they're coming to you with a solution, they'll do it no matter how difficult.
mm-hmm,
If you
mm-hmm,
told them that's
mm-hmm,
the solution you need to do,
mm-hmm,
you get resistance. It's
mm-hmm,
amazing.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
if that's one thing that I can teach all of the folks that I work with is, have that passion, have that non-judgment, be curious, and
mm-hmm,
understand you're not the smartest person in the room
mm-hmm.
because you've
Well,
hired
there
them
is,
for a reason.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, is there ever a smartest person in the room, or is it the wisdom is in the room for everybody, that everybody has something?
It's that
Yeah,
collective whole.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all the pieces making a greater whole,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm. Yeah. So
There may be people.
tell me how you bring your clients when they are, as you said, in this time right now where there's just so much overwhelm and frustration, and
Yeah,
now, by the way, let's throw artificial intelligence in the mix because you weren't stressed out enough, and there's just so much. Like, how do you? So, a lot of levels 1 and 2, I would think, just the nature of the beast being so stressed out. So, how do you? What do you do to bring people to
yeah,
levels 3 through 5?
yeah.
Your clients, what do you
Well,
do with them?
again, yeah. Once they get that understanding, they have
Mm-hmm.
to make the choice, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where goal setting comes in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? Do you love this rat race? I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't have enough time in the day, and I worked with someone, a client that I've been working with months, and she's like, Elizabeth, I work 19 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
like,
insane.
okay, so we need to work on that, don't we? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's the goal setting, it's the awareness, it's the goal setting, and there's a lot of different tools that you can use in that. It's like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, let's look up, let's review your job description. What is in your job description? And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my human resource hat on now, right? Taking the
Mm-hmm.
coaching hat off, human
Mm-hmm.
resource hat on. Let's look at the job description. I want you to sit down and make a list of all that you do, and then how does that correlate to the job description? And one of the things that we find out is that they're so far from their job description because they
Right.
like doing the different things, because
Right.
it's fun to do, because someone asked them to do it that doesn't know what's in their job description. So all of a sudden you have what's in your job description, what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, okay, so you've got a team.
Yeah.
Now, let's figure out how we're going to delegate some of this stuff,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, but
Yes.
no one's going to do it as good as
Yes.
me.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So why did you bring these people on for your team?
Yeah.
So then it's like, I had a mentor that said, do it, delegate it, or dump it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I
Exactly. The
think
three D.
my mentor. And so, delegation. So then we kind of work on it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's put a little bit of
Yeah.
power into the people that you're on your team. They're excellent. Let's figure out where they're excellent, right? And then
Well,
let's disperse.
and it brings I think because the idea is if I'm caught in levels 1 and 2, how do I scaffold around my successfully being able to be levels 3 through 5?
Yeah.
And then it becomes a system issue and less about me and
Yes.
more about what do I do around me so that I actually can get to that, which I really like, right? So that's the
Yeah.
oxygen mask thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of that's
Absolutely.
delegating, some of that, right? And let's start with how do you, I kind of going with you here on this. Like, well, what's your day look like?
Yeah.
How much sleep are you getting?
Yeah.
What do you, right? All of that, right? So how are you delegating? What
Right.
do you do? What are these things that you think you should be doing? And
Yeah.
let's maybe reframe
And,
that. Yeah.
it's amazing, Danny, because, especially when you've got new managers, new directors, they want to do it all. They want to
Yes,
impress. They don't ever want to say
exactly.
no. Or yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Well, all of a sudden, you know, it's not
Yeah.
just time zones that they're working with, right? My 19-hour a day girl, she's got all these different time zones. She never thought to. I gave her a little direction for an app to use, but she never thought about figuring out core work times that all of the different time zones could work with.
Hmm.
She goes, "This is life changing for
This
me.
is the, yeah, this
I
is the
never
stuff.
thought of that."
Isn't that great? Yeah.
So,
The
so
genius.
offering up, but yeah, it's the most difficult for the folks that either don't feel they can say no or they don't want to say no because they want to look good. However, if they're not getting sleep, if they're not taking care of themselves, they're more testy.
Yeah.
Their temper might trigger a little bit quicker. So when they have the realization, you know, this is what I'm doing and these are the results and this isn't working for me, then they
Yeah.
have to figure out, okay, what's
What
going
can
to
I do
work?
to change? Exactly.
What's going
Yes.
to
Yeah.
work for me?
Yeah. Right
And
on.
a lot of times they know they know what the results are going to be. They know the goal that they want to achieve. It's just they need a little bit of help, a little hand holding along the way, to get them there.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Well, super interesting. Very, very interesting. So if folks want to hear some more about levels of leadership, what's the best way of getting in your world, your universe?
They can take a look at the website, ebprofessionalcoaching.com, and there's a little link in there. Let's have a conversation. There is some information that's on the website. But yeah, we could have a really quick call and they can learn more and see what's going to work best for them.
That's great. That's great.
And also, one of the things I like to have my folks do is there's actually the founder of the training institute that I went through, Bruce D. Snyder, has an energy leadership book, and it's a phenomenal book. And I have my folks. I mean, there's no proprietary information that I use. I love it when they read through the book because it gives them some ideas of where they're at, where they might want to go, how they might be able to get there. And so that's also a good source. It's titled Energy Leadership by Bruce D.
Energy
Snyder.
Leadership by
Yeah.
Bruce G. Snyder. Okay, good.
D.
Well,
D is in
D.
David.
Snyder. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to put that. Wasn't it there? D. Snyder was like the lead singer for some 80s hair band, if I remember. I can't remember now. All right. Well, awesome. Well, Elizabeth, this has been terrific. Is there anything that you want to leave us with? Any
Well,
parting words?
um, like I love to say to people, make it a great day. Don't
Mm-hmm.
have a great day, make it a great day. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're not sure how to make it a great day, there's so much out there. If you're not a reader, there's podcasts like this one. There's ebooks that you can listen to if you have a long drive. Figure out what's going to be the best for you because there's so much information out there that's helpful. Find your method first
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because you
like
can
that. Yeah.
basically
Because we
Google
got to do the
problem
work.
employees and you'll get a plethora of different information that will come up, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
use the resources and tools that you do have and make it a great day.
And make it a great day as opposed to just having a great day. I really like that a lot,
Yeah.
right? because
Yeah.
the onus is on us, right? To do some work around
Yes.
understanding what can we do to scaffold around this.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And,
Well,
and if we're not having a good day and that ripples through our family, our friends, our coworkers, our peers. And so if everyone had that awareness and were able to change to a higher level of resonancy with their energy leadership, it would enlighten all of the people that are around them.
yeah, and lift us all. Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so, so much. This has been a real treat. Really appreciate it. And folks, again, if you're interested in hearing more from Elizabeth, please make sure to reach out to her through her website and get on her mailing list and get a even more thorough understanding of how you can manipulate and strategize and work to shift your
Yeah.
energy level as a leader.
Yeah. Be
Right
more
on.
productive with less effort and be more fulfilled.
Excellent. Love it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, thank you so, so much. Real pleasure. And dear listener, thank you for joining us again. This is Danny Ceballos with Unleash Consulting and the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Take care, Danny. Thank you.